Fabled is 1 week away. That's crazy. In all honesty, we're coming into the first rotation of Disney Lorcana, but not only is it the first rotation of Disney Lorcana, we're getting some new, really interesting and fun interactive cards coming with it. In today's video, I want to talk about the day one decks for the brand new cards. This isn't just going to be like, hey, this is the best decks ever, or anything like that. These are just kind of strictly focusing on what new cards are coming, how do we utilize them, in what ways and different ways can we play with them, and is there something for everyone? I think so. I think there's going to be some decks that are going to be out there. They're going to be achievable thanks to the starter decks, which we're going to talk about it. And then I also think there's going to be some decks that might be a little bit high end, a little bit harder to acquire, and we'll talk about those things as we go as well. But nonetheless, very excited. We got Powerline, we got Circle of Life, Dumbo, even some princesses. I can't wait. Let's get into it. So here we have the day one Powerline Emerald Ruby. Now, for those paying attention, we do get a starter deck for Emerald Ruby, and it's going to contain basically all of these cards in it to make it fairly achievable day one. The big thing about it here is that you can get multiple max goofs, multiple power lines, and really start functioning your deck out quickly to make this deck a little bit more achievable than some of the others on day one. And I think that that is very important. So the question becomes, what does this deck do better than other decks in the metagame? For me, it's interesting. It's noteworthy. It has similar things that other decks are successful with, while also having the only board wipe in the game, which is Under the Sea. I think that that is invaluable and very, very important to the metagame because we just don't have any other ways to do it except for in Emerald. Now, the other thing that this really does is it brings in some of the best cards from the previous metagame. Maui Half Shark and a Pirate's Life get some love here. We get a reprinted Be King Undisputed, and you also finally get to use some of the new Emerald Ruby cards, the dueling cards that really haven't seen a ton of love, but are very playable, the Undermine and Dormouse. This is hitting on several different layers and kind of being successful amongst them. Dormouse putting a damage onto an opposing character, turns off Rhino, turns off Nala, makes the Calhoun a little bit more vulnerable. Like, it does a lot of really cool things. It even has the ability to kind of remove some of those one power characters from the board and maybe some characters left over. Undermine makes your Bobby all of a sudden similar to what a lot of Amethyst decks are doing with Hypnotic Strength. The idea that we can undermine, target, choose our Bobby, give him +2 strength, and make our opponent discard a card. It's a pretty phenomenal play if that's how we're going to remove a Daisy. If we're just going to run our Bobby in, say, okay, we're going to take a card from you, and we're going to get rid of that Daisy, and we're going to get rid of that Nala, like whatever the threat may be, the idea that Bobby can kind of trade up and get a card from your opponent all at once is incredibly powerful. I think I've talked about this in several other occasions now, but, Clarabelle is one of the best draw power in the game, and this deck has technically all three of this combinations. Powerline is an effective draw card. Maui Shark is an effective draw card. And of course, Clarabelle is an effective draw card. Having Mother's Knows Best and You're Welcome kind of enables this way to really just interact with your opponent in a nice way that if you go a certain direction, all of a sudden you can play a Clarabelle, you can bounce a card back to their hand, you can You're Welcome something, and then you can draw back up with them. I believe that this deck is definitely attacking the metagame on several different levels, and it's a brand new strategy, which is a lot of fun, and it's even interacting cards that we haven't seen a ton of before, like Under the Sea, like Clarabelle, things like that have only shown up in glimpses in the past. Now you're having this opportunity to bring it in and start playing with it on day one. Another interesting thing that you can do with Powerline is Ruby Steel. Ruby Steel is definitely a deck that has not really been successful, much like Ruby Emerald has not been successful. But all of a sudden, when you start looking at the songs that are in the game, when you start realizing that Ruby now has its own singers and Amber has less of them, and the Amber singers aren't as effective and things like that, like all of a sudden you start looking for differences in what Fabled is creating, and Fabled is giving us Powerline, which is enabling us to play, in all honesty, probably 4 different versions of him. And today we had Ruby Emerald, now we have Ruby Steel. What is this deck offering that Ruby Emerald isn't? Just a different variant of ways to deal damage and, of course, draw cards. Having Beyond the Horizon as an endgame, you get 7 Dwarves Mines as the interactions. You get Doc Bold Knight, which might be one of the best cards in the format. And, of course, you get cards like Namari. You have all the backup. The interactions with Tink are very interesting. And of course, you also have effective board wipe through Mulan. There's a lot of different interactions going around here, a lot of different strategies, just trying to understand, hey, what can Powerline do for me? And you can see here some of the bigger plays are still a Pirate's Life and, of course, Beyond the Horizon. But you also get all the interaction to the board with cards like Tinkerbell. You get a little bit more fuel with draw power from Doc and things like that. Also, just again, a couple new cards that are really cool, like Light the Fuse is a card we had not seen before. All of a sudden, you know, you're playing characters on the board every turn. Light the Fuse is a 1-cost Fire the Cannons with benefits. I think it's very difficult for this card to be worse than Fire Cannons, and the upside of it being better than Fire the Cannons is just immeasurable for an uninkable card, specifically in a deck that doesn't have that many uninkables to begin with. You got to let me know in the comments. Powerline, are we excited? Are we not? Where are we at with it? I think it's cool. I think it's really starting to showcase. I think that a lot of people, in all honesty, are kind of not giving it as much credit as it deserves. Yes, the shift lines, they're not the strongest willpowers. I get that. But it also means that your opponent has to interact with you. They have to have cards like Fire the Cannons. They have to have their Strength of a Raging Fire. They really need to interact with you that way, because when they don't, when you can shift on turn 4 and just absolutely alter any game state, it's very devastating to anyone's game plan. So I'm curious. I'm a big Powerline fan. What about you? Let me know in the comments. The big bad boogeyman of the format is going to be Amber Steel potentially. It's just really efficient. It's really straightforward. But what I love about it is the creativity from different people in kind of the Disney Lorcana community. And what other better way than to represent that than Frank Karsten himself? This man has won a DLC with Amber Steel. Very different deck. Used to be Songs. Now we have Aggro. But I wanted to take a look at his version of this deck. So Amber Steel, Karsten, Aggro here. Pretty straightforward. Nothing too crazy. But we are a little bit more invested in the 5-cost characters. Bagheera coming in as a 5-cost character. The 5-cost inkable, 4 strength, 3 willpower, 2 lore, bodyguard, and when this is banished on your opponent's turn, do 2 damage to all opposing characters. The other character here is Gantu. That's right. We haven't seen Gantu since the Kiwi days, and even that it fell off a little bit, but now you're seeing it again. 5-cost inkable, 4 strength, 3 willpower, 4 lore. That is stats. So when you're talking about those types of things, you have to understand that this deck is really just saying, okay, we're going to play our nice early game. We're going to get our lore in. We're going to be a little bit attrition here. We have Lilos and things like that. We have the annoying lines of Tiana into Pluto. And if they can't get away with that, you even have like Tiana into a John Silver plus a 1-cost character. Then you can follow up with a Bagheera. But even then, if they're able to kind of stave off your threats, all of a sudden a card like Gantu represents probably a game-winning position. This deck, very interesting. It's always nice to look into the pros of Disney Lorcana. And this is not just a pro of Disney Lorcana. This is a 30-year pro of trading card games. So when you have the opportunity to see where his mind is at, it's really great. If you want to check out, I'll put the description below. There was a link that Karsten made to 15 of his own decks to start with on day 1. And I really just wanted to pick from the pool and showcase and give Karsten a little love, because this is an interesting way to build this deck. This is playing cards that I had not seen others playing, and I really just wanted to put it out there. And this is the real hard fact here, guys, and I really want you to understand is that right now we are absolutely in the exploration phase. There's a lots of content out there. There's lots of social media aspects out there that you can just take it in. Because the truth is that no, not everyone's correct, but the other truth is not everyone's wrong. A lot of these cards are just playable, and you're going to see different versions of every single deck out there find success. And it's going to be a little bit while, really, I would say 2-3 weeks until we see the absolute best versions of a deck come out. And in most cases, all that has to do is with positioning. So right now, take the information in, start writing down notes, get the idea of hey, this is something that someone's talked about that no one else has. And that's what I did when I read Karsten's article this morning. As I went through, and I looked for cards that I had not thought about or that I had not seen others think about, because that's the whole goal. We're trying to get into the side of everyone's mind and understand best how others think. So definitely take the opportunity, watch the content, read the content, follow social media, join specific, do all those things to get yourself a little bit ahead than the average player in Disney Lorcana. With that, let's keep going. Shout out to Codex Journals, one of our sponsors. Of course, they are the best way to take notes. I just told you about taking notes. This is the best way to get better at Disney Lorcana. Go to codexjournals.com/Forbidden Mountain and use the code Codex offer 5359 for 10% off at checkout. Definitely worth it. Hit that QR code in the top left corner there. Speaking of new cards, how about Dumbo? That's right. This is a incredibly powerful Dumbo deck. I think Dumbo is one of those cards that right now everyone is on a complete coin flip for. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it worth 4 ink? Is it worth playing on turn 6 or 7? When can I do it? How many do I need? Well, when the majority of the cards in your deck are evasive and they are dual threats and they active as other kind of things that go on in the game, Dumbo starts to look a lot better. Right now, I think Emerald Amethyst is doing a great job of this, threatening the game early with cards like Cursed Molefolk, like Pegasus, of course, having the right type of damage dealers like Rafiki and Diablo, even having a card like Timothy, which is hysterical. But hey, listen, that card is a 1/4 with 2 lore potentially. Very powerful stat line when you have evasives, and I don't know, 85% of your deck is evasive. It's not hard to turn on. Go-Go might be one of the best threats to the Lorcana game right now. So much damage is being left around. People are worried about Bell. That's great. You leave 4 damage on an Elsa, gain 4 lore. That's insane. This show is so powerful. Tinkerbell, another straightforward evasive. Just get in there, get greedy, find your way to gain some lore, and then finish that game off with Dumbo. Have that a way to just draw back up when necessary. And of course, there's just so many things about this deck that are very interesting and very straightforward, but it really is just about putting your cards in play, presenting threats for your opponent, saying, hey, can you figure this out? When they can't, you probably just win a bunch of games at Disney Lorcana. This one, if you're a Dumbo fan, if you're just an evasive fan, if you like flyers, I think that this is where I would start. On the other side of that, we got Dumbo in Sapphire Amethyst. That's right. This deck, prime for the pickings in the new upcoming metagame. And if I'm being honest, this deck just really, it kind of has all the answers. It has Rafiki, it has Royal Guard, it has Hypnotic Strength, it has the turn 1 Daisy answer, it has answers to cards later in the game, it's got a turn 3 5/5, followed by a turn 4, either you Belle, you Elsa, you got Anna for supporting, making your, like even your Tebow all of a sudden is a 4/2. This deck just has a lot of synergy, a lot of power, and basically an answer for everything in the format. If you are a Sapphire Amethyst fan, if you've been playing it for a while, you probably have the majority of these cards, and you're just going to have to find Dumbo. And listen, don't get me wrong, Dumbo's going to be expensive. They're already pre-ordering at $60 a pop, and that is incredibly frustrating because it already looks like some of these Fabled legendaries, specifically the ones that are not included in the starter decks, that are prime, they're going to be good. Yeah, they're going to be expensive. I don't know what to tell you. If you don't have the money early on, put some libraries in your deck. It's not the same, but I think this deck is good even without Dumbo. So, but if you can get your hands on Dumbo, I think you're going to be a little bit ahead. Just, a little bit ahead. All in all, I think Sapphire Amethyst really, really good. If you're a Sapphire Amethyst fan, let me know how many enchantments you have to buy. Oof, sorry guys. Next one. How about princesses? That's right, day 1 princesses. So Aurora Holding Court is the new 1-cost inkable, 1 strength, 2 willpower, 1 lore with the ability Royal Welcome. When this character requests, you pay 1 less for the next princess or queen character you play this turn. I think this card is quite interesting. I think in most cases, people are only looking at this at Amber Steel, and that's a fair way to use her, but I do love the idea that this deck has a Shift Aurora. Our Chapter 1 friend, Aurora Dream Guardian, is a 5-cost inkable, 3 strength, 5 willpower, 2 lore with Shift 3 and Protective Embrace. Your other characters gain ward. Now, the fun thing about the wonderful Aurora, the Royal Guardian here, is that she does interact just as you think with Shift. Paying 1 less with Royal Welcome is a big deal. She gets the quest, and if you want to, on turn 2, you can just slam your 3/5 in play, and then the rest of your characters are going to have Ward. That's kind of insane for a turn 2 play. It definitely interacts really well. I think a lot of the other cool interactions about this deck and protecting itself are actually Vanellope Von Schweetz. Now, of course, we have the 1 cost 2/2, but we also have the 4 cost 2/4 with 2 lore and shift 2 as well, with the ability I hereby decree. Whenever you play another princess character, all opposing characters get -1 strength until the start of your next turn. This is effectively protecting your whole board itself. It's really creating that your higher willpower characters that get to sit there and last longer, they become even more effective. This also double stacks with Tiana. Now, if they have to pay or they can't pay, they're going to be getting -1 strength just because of Vanellope on top. And she's a 2/4. You're talking about 2/4 from Vanellope, 1/4 from Aurora, 1/4 from Tiana, 3/5 from the Aurora. Like, you just have so many stats that now all of a sudden you really get to interact pretty well with some of these cards, specifically the Sapphire Amethyst action, restoring the heart. It's just the 1 cost action. Remove up to 3 damage from chosen character or location and draw a card. So now if they have leftover damage on your characters, you're like, yeah, that's cool. I'll just, heal it for 3, draw my card, replace itself. This also inadvertently answers Iago, which I think is a big deal. And it just kind of moves the game forward. But this deck just has so much energy. It's a princess deck. I know, like, we make jokes about it all the time about, like, I just want to play my princesses. And there's also jokes out there that have been, like, derogatory towards Lorcana of like, oh, you're just playing a princess Disney deck. Like, well, no, we weren't. So shut up. But what we can do now is, like, hey, if your kid, if you get a kid at home and she just wants to play princesses, you can do it. And it might be, like, super competitive, which I think is great because we didn't have enough of that in Disney Lorcana before Fabled. The idea that we're now kind of like bringing in these new, like, strategies is impressive. And I think that that's really the best goal for Fabled, is having decks like this for sure. So that's what I'm definitely most excited about, is playing these unique cards and different cards. I have to give a quick shout out to the new Mulan as well. She's pretty interesting. She's a 5 cost, 3/5 again. The willpower, it's so high. 2 lore, Imperial Invitation. Whenever this character quests, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal a princess character card and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. This is just filter. It's adding cards to your hand, which is great. It's definitely what you need. And last but not least, a card that I revealed all the way back in Shimmering Skies, Queen Censor Core, 2 cost inkable. Amber item with Symbol of Nobility. At the start of your turn, if you have a princess or queen character in play, gain a lore and the ability Royal Search. Exert this and 2 ink. Reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a princess or a queen character, you may put it into your hand. Otherwise, put it on top of your deck. If you look at the deck, the majority of this is, of course, princesses. So effectively, this is going to draw cards. The only exceptions are Goofy, which I think interacts very well with the high willpower nonsense. Obviously, Ludwig is one of the most underrated cards in Lorcana. If it was not specifically an Amber Sapphire card, it would be one of the most played cards in Disney Lorcana. So, like, you got to play that card. The other option, of course, is Baymax, which gives this deck a little bit more reach. Again, we have so much high willpower that it's so easy to just pick up a free couple 2-3 lore with Baymax. And then, of course, the Beast, which is your princess characters get +1 strength and +1 willpower, making them all the more beefier. So this deck, definitely something that's exciting to me for Disney Lorcana, because I don't think we had enough of this pre-Fabled. If what Fabled does is deliver new strategies like this, and these become even just tier 2, I think that is a great step in the right direction for Disney Lorcana. How about Circle of Life? That is right. All right. I mean, guys, listen. It's the circle of life. I know. I can't, but it's cool, right? The card's cool, right? Is it good? Can we make it good? There's a couple ways. Let's try. So when you look at it, you see we got Mulan. She helps us discard cards. We got Tinkerbell Tiny Tactician. Also helps us discard cards. We have, of course, the singers that we're going to need to do this, but it also is sing together, so it's not super reliant on them either. But the real question is, what are we putting into play when we Circle of Life? Well, we got Namari. She seems pretty cool to put into play. Tinkerbell, yeah, she's great. Stitch, Carefree Surfer. If we sing together with 2 cards and we get to put a Stitch into play, we get to draw 2 cards. That's pretty good. Vincenzo, yeah, comes into play, deals 3 damage to something, has 8 willpower and 3 lore. Sign me up. And then, of course, Mickey Mouse. I mean, who doesn't want to play a 10-10? Honestly. I do think this deck is quite interesting. It's offering a very different strategy to Disney Lorcana. The Reanimator strategy, in most cases, has just like never truly been, developed in Disney Lorcana. I think that they were very hesitant on so many cards that were this Reanimator effect. And for those who don't understand, Reanimator means reanimate cards from your discard pile. So we are, rebirthing cards. We're bringing cards back to the discard pile, and we're putting them right into play. There, Revive comes to mind. Holds Tight, I think, is the action that I think, comes to mind. Perdita comes to mind. Like, it's just a very limited amount of cards. Some of them been good, some of them not so good. I think Circle of Life is really, it's a fine line. I think Sing Together is a perfect mechanic for Fabled and the rotation. So I think that it's not going to be difficult to actually get that off, specifically with 1/4 characters and 1/3 characters with resist and things like that. The willpower is all there for you to actually be able to get this combo off if you draw it. We can kind of compare it to Exodia in a way. But the question is, when you did Exodia in Yu-Gi-Oh, you won the game. I'm not convinced just yet that if we hit Exodia, we win the game. So that's where we're kind of at right now. Is it cool? Yes. Is it fun? Absolutely. But does it mean we win? Debatable. That's going to be for you to figure out. Just saying. Cards, new cards, cool. Figure it out, right? One more deck. So here we are, right? We have the one, the only Circle of Life for Emerald decks. And this is a deck that I've actually been working on basically since Circle of Life was leaked. It was a card that I was very interested in, and there were definite this is like version 5 probably of this deck at this point. Again, you go in, you talk about listening to other players, right? And when you start listening to other players, you understand that you can't do everything by yourself. It's just impossible. That's why there's teams. That's why there's communities. Like, that's why this is so important, is because when you collaborate, you can find these missing pieces that you weren't thinking about before. And that is the piece here that might be true, right? Like, Ursula's Shell Necklace was a card that was really, really good for like 2 weeks when there was only 45 cards revealed in Disney Lorcana. And I know that sounds hilarious, but it's true. There was a point in time where I swear if you go back 2 years on this channel, you will find the first meta report, and it talks about Ursula's Shell Necklace. That's how long ago that was. But now you're finding these decks and these pieces that people really think are very good, and they increase the odds of them being successful. And Ursula's Shell Necklace, when it's compared to a Maurice's Workshop, you can kind of make that fair comparison, because you're like, hey, you know what's awesome? When I get to play cards for free and then just pay 1 to draw a card, whereas Workshop, you had to pay 1 for the popsicle, draw a card, and then pay another 1 to draw a card. This is like, hey, I'm just going to exert my character, and then all of a sudden I play a card for free, and it just reads, by the way, pay 1, draw a card. Adding a kicker to every single song, very powerful. Specifically when these cards are already so good. Under the Sea wipes the board. Circle of Life gets you a bomb back. All these things are very, very good. One of the other key factors here that, if you've been saying about this deck a little bit longer than you probably should have, is Chip and Dale. Chip and Dale is an 8 cost, 6 strength, 6 willpower, 3 lore with shift 5. And by the way, it can be shifted onto either Chip or Dale, which is why you see the 4 cost Chip and the 4 cost Dale in this deck. And has the ability Search and Rescue. During your turn, whenever a character card is put into your Inkwell, you may return a character card from your discard to your hand. So this is another effective way to draw cards. If we compare it to a Maui Shark, when Maui Shark challenges, you get to effectively draw an action card from your discard to your hand. This is now letting you do it on ink, but it's also letting you do it on a 6/6 body that has 3 lore, that if you Circle of Life and then you ink, you can just instantly pick up another card back from your discard pile and pile that on. And also you can have just some very, very large swing turns. The other card here that I continuously talk about is Basil. I mean, Basil is without a doubt one of the most underrated cards in the format. I think it was playable last set, but there wasn't enough people really trying it. 7 cost, inkable, 5 strength, 4 willpower, 2 lore, incapacitate. When you play this character, you may return chosen character to their player's hand and interfere. Whenever this character requests chosen opponent character discards a card at random. This card is absolutely bananas phenomenal. Now, we're also looking at this. We have Tramp. Tramp is a nice way to kind of fill you up your hand, discard it out, really set up your Circle of Life, which is important, sets up your Chippendale, which is important. Because, guys, there are obviously versions of this deck we've seen in the past. They were, Chernodogs, and that was the whole strategy. Chernobog didn't get reprinted. It's okay. We can evolve. We can find new ways. That's exactly what this deck kind of looks like for me. Just in a completely different way to play Disney Lorcana, which is why it's one of the more interesting lists for me, and why Circle of Life, I think, is one of those cards, like I said, it's just like, oh, it's right there. Someone needs to break it. Just anybody. And if I can help, if I spiked some conversation about Circle of Life, I've won. I've won, guys, and I'm excited for it. I really am. So with that, one last time, this deck, super interesting, super new. If you guys have not yet, make sure you check out the Metafy for all of your Disney Lorcana needs. We have the tips for all Disney Lorcana Foundation. If you're new to Disney Lorcana, this guide is completely free. It will level you up in every single chapter. And then we have the Lorcana Finance, buy and sell smarter. It's Scott Landis's finest. There's also some slight edgier work for competitive Lorcana players and the cost of playing in the game, which was a video made by David Nunez. But nonetheless, this is the best way to support us. Just go follow us on Metafy and see everything that we have going on. Guys, we are here 1 week from Fabled. I got to know, are you excited? What are you hopeful for? What is the first deck that you're going to sleeve up? There's so many options, so many choices, and I'm so excited because that is a fact. Right now, nothing is solved. Don't listen to the internet. Don't flame people because listen, it's okay. They can have their opinion. We can still go. We can have fun. We can try new decks. And that's exactly what I want to try and get out there with this video. Share with a friend, like it, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.